I'm James Macpherson with Liz Storer and Caleb Bond. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we told you about Sydney City Council's plan to lower speed limits in the CBD to just 30 kilometres an hour. Now, if they are successful in slowing traffic to a crawl, you can be sure Sydney City Council employees will not be taking any notice. It's been revealed today that the City Council staff have racked up $50,000 worth of traffic fines, mostly for speeding, but also for running red lights, using bus lanes and, wait for it, for parking violations. One staff member has had 8 separate fines. And here's the best part: when they can't identify which staffer was driving the council vehicle, guess who pays the fine? Ratepayers. But the thing that confused me about this story was I've known Clover Moore to be more committed to net zero than anyone else in the country. I mean, the Sydney City Council is so green, Kermit the Frog is jealous. So here's my question: how is it that these council staff members can be breaking the speed limit and running red lights on bicycles? And then I realised they're driving cars and telling us to ride bicycles. They're zooming through the city without regard for pedestrians while telling us you've got to slow down because safety is paramount. They're racking up tens of thousands of dollars worth of fines while telling us we're so sorry, but rates have to go up. You know what it's like: interest rates, cost of living. Caleb, I'd say this council was a joke, but the joke's on us.
Well, I want to know, if you get a parking fine, right, as a staff member at the City of Sydney, and they don't know who was actually driving the car, do they then get the ratepayer to pay the fine to the council that issued the fine in the first place? And as you say, this one bloke, he's got 8 speeding fines. Open and shut case, Your Honour. These speed limit reductions are not needed, unless, of course, this is a great conspiracy by Clover Moore to generate more money for the state government, not least, of course, from her own staff, who will be driving around. It's $50,000 now, it'll be $100,000 next year, straight into state government coffers. It sounds like a great idea to me.
I think it's a perfect example of how out of touch they are. They're not even in touch with their own staff, who are clearly everyday punters like us, who are not on board with the very agenda that they're pushing. So this whole, like, let's slow it down to 40, let's slow it down to 30. It's like your own staff aren't even on board with this. And I love this quote from Lyndon Gannon, who's a Liberal councillor. He says, "I think we now have to look at putting speed limiters on these vehicles." Yes, of course, it's the vehicle's fault. If we just created vehicles that didn't go over 40, we wouldn't have this problem. This is not user error. It's the cars that are going too far.
That's the problem, though. You can't have it both ways. You can't have 30 kilometre-hour speed limits and make everyone drive EVs, because EVs, they've got great acceleration. You can't help but speed.
Yeah, they do. That's not going to solve anything except for the lesson.
That's if they're actually charged, though. Then they're going 0 kilometres now. I'd like to see 40 kilometre-hour only cars. You'd get to Adelaide from Sydney in about 17 days, I reckon. But one of the great advantages of driving at lower speed, of course, is less emissions and fuel economy. If you drove everywhere at 30 kilometres an hour, it would take you a long time. But with the excessive price of fuel at the moment, you would be saving money.